Order. Stability. The rule of law. Sounds like Azorius might be the guild for me. What do you reckon? It's time to go inside R&D with the Azorius Guild.
So the Azorius are the guild represented by white and blue mana. And white and blue mana are not, generally speaking, the colors that are all about having a good time. They're just kind of stodgy, a little bit status quo. But that's not to say that the Azorius do nothing. They are Ravnica's ostensible government. They are the guild that wants to do the governing. The Azorius have set up their organization to be as baffling as possible to the other guilds. As a result, it's sort of baffling to they themselves also, but they would never acknowledge that publicly.
So we struggled for a while to find an Azorius mechanic that we were very happy with. Forecast last time was interesting. It goes into space that Magic had never gone before. So we were looking for a blue-white mechanic that would actually make the game go somewhere instead of not go somewhere. And as it turns out, the natural place for blue-white cards to go is to make the game go longer and gain incremental advantage. And that kind of thing is going to be in Magic, and we like that it's in Magic, but it's so good in Magic that you almost don't have to make a mechanic to make it a good strategy.
When the set was in Divine, which is in between design and development, Azorius had a mechanic which used enchantments. It was a really fun mechanic, which I hope we come back to, but it didn't gel well with the other mechanics in the set.
So one of the things when we make guild mechanics is it's important to make sure that the players who love that guild will like the mechanic, that the mechanic really speaks to that particular guild. It doesn't matter that everybody likes the mechanic, and so Detain is very interesting because it fits us exactly, which is, when we saw it, I defended it because I said, Azorius players will like Detain. It's an Azorius mechanic. I don't think a lot of other people might like it because it's definitely a fiddly mechanic, but for Azorius, that's exactly what they want.
When we first tried it out, it was terrible. So in development, we gave it a little bit of that Azorius vibe where they were kind of, they would come out and they would put you in handcuffs and they would tell you to stop, and the law mages kind of had this magical power that could shut down spellcasting. And then we tried another iteration of that, and that was too light. Too much stuff was kind of going through and it didn't have the flavor. And then hopefully we got it just right when we came back with the final iteration of it. It played really well. It had the flavor of Azorius, and then that's when we just said, we got it. So hopefully you have fun with it.
One of the decisions we had to make on a card-by-card basis is how much to have the art reflect the guild mechanic. So with Azorius, it's a lot of detention, a lot of arresting, a lot of crowd control. One of the reasons that Detention Sphere is so successful is that we found a way, sans handcuffs, to, kind of show how they police their people and literally detain them without it being, jail cells. So something more fun than that.
So the charm cycle actually came out of Gatecrash design. Since everything across Return to Ravnica and Gatecrash is in tens, one per guild, the charm cycle is structured to where you have, for Azorius Charm, a white ability, creatures you control gain lifelink, a blue ability, draw a card, and then a white and blue ability, which is put attacker blocker on top of Owner's library. So that is how all the charms are structured across both sets.
One of the tricks of trying to revisit something is we wanted to make sure we had elements of the old, but still have it feel new. And a trick to doing that is taking things that you recognize from the old Ravnica, but giving them a new context. For example, Isperia, who's now the guild leader of Azorius. She was in Ravnica, she was inscrutable, but she was just a card back then. She wasn't the guild leader. And so now we come back, now we have a guild leader. It's not the same guild leader, things have changed, but it's someone you know.
We wanted her to be a 6/4. Originally she was a 5/6. And the thing is, her ability never triggered, because it was just like the card would brick wall you. You're not going to attack into a 5/6. As a 6/4, you could attack through her with some of your mid-sized creatures, but it was going to cost you. And then she would come back on the counterattack, maybe combined with some detained cards, creating a really, really satisfying play pattern, while also being a really enticing card that just hits you upon first glance. It's like, wow, they made that? We're asking you to pay 2 white, white, blue, blue for a card. We want the payoff to be worth it, and in my experience, Isperia definitely pays off.
My law, my judgment, my guild. Azorius. Won't you join us?